I thought I would sell my soul to Satan. I mean, I was, in a sense, going insane. That was my OCD. My name is Brandon Petulla. I am 22, and I am a freelance photographer as well as a graphic designer. I think the first time I ever kind of noticed OCD a bit, I was about 6, and I had this weird obsession of whatever I did with my right hand, I had to do with my left. So at first it kind of started with hand picking and weird habits with my skin. And then it developed into me being incredibly cautious with food in terms of contamination. Once I turned 17, that's when it kind of went into overdrive. My OCD and food habits got more severe than it ever was. I was eating like a bird.
Around his senior year of high school, he came to me saying that he was having anxiety at that time. He was starting to, do these little ritual things. He'd gotten a lot skinnier, he'd gotten smaller. There was a lot of crying. He started to bring up this devil stuff, and Dad, am I gonna go to hell? If I am gay or something, does that mean I'm gonna burn in hell?
So a lot of my OCD, as it started, was centered around religious issues. But I had an extreme obsession with the devil and accidentally selling my soul to Satan. That's the reason why I stopped eating, because I would get a thought in my head, take a bite of a sandwich, and it would be if you take this bite, this means you're selling your soul to Satan, which is ridiculous. But in my head, I was like, oh my God, well, now I can't eat this. And then it started to get more physical when I would go around the house literally blessing objects and draw a cross on them and weird superstitious things like that. And I would start reading the Bible and reading verses and writing them down and put them on my wall. And I started sleeping with a crucifix, and it just got incredibly weird.
He didn't have any kind of religion thrown on him, but yet he was having these sudden fears about hell and the devil. I mean, as a parent, to see your son like this was awful. When I finally brought Brandon to Dr. Gorbis for treatment, he looked bad.
Dr. Gorbis obviously was the main person to help me through everything.
May I, Brandon?
How are you?
Brandon, how many years it's been?
I mean, I haven't seen you in a year, but.
It's fantastic. It's fantastic. You're smiling, your eyes are so alive. The type of OCD that he had is extremely difficult to treat because a lot is hidden.
It was always the same mantra in my head, if you do this, ... you're selling your soul. And so when I went into therapy, I kind of had to reverse that way of thinking and actually write it down. And then once I kept doing it, I started getting comfortable with it.
Well, that's the key, because it's chronic, it's a medical illness, and it's not gonna go away anywhere, and it will exacerbate. I love this. This is absolute, because people clean, right? With OCD.
I think the funniest treatment I did with Gorbis was most of the sticky note ideas. I'm super artistic, so they were trying to get me comfortable with the idea of being uncomfortable. They would lock me in Dr. Gorbis's room for sessions. They wanted me to basically put sticky notes on the wall to create a mural or something pretty. I was like, okay, I can do that. And then they were but on each sticky note you have to write Satan or 666 or you're selling your soul to Satan. I just kind of was learning that it's just words that are just coming out of my mouth and they don't actually mean anything. And it slowly became easier, but it took some time. Because my OCD was so object-oriented, I started getting back into the obsession of creating objects again.
Amazing. So even you're using the images and your talent now to combat OCD.
Yeah.
I'm very proud of Brandon that what he's done. You've got to be very disciplined to do the work to recover. Doing this therapy is harder than writing a thesis for college under pressure.
It was really hard at first, and then even today, I'll still compulse today. It's part of having OCD. OCD will always be a part of me in a sense. I can't get rid of it, so I have to live with it.
Each person is like a diamond or a snowflake, very individual. With Brandon, he made an enormous success, definitely very fascinating. Brandon, you're unforgettable.